Not every woman deserves your presence. Some come into your life to lift you up. Others show up just to drain you. And she doesn't have to raise her voice to manipulate you. Sometimes all it takes is the right silence at the right time to make you lose yourself. Real love doesn't make you shrink just to survive. It allows you to stand tall and still be respected. Have you ever loved someone and felt more exhausted the deeper you loved her? I'm not talking about being tired from work or life stress. I mean the kind of exhaustion that comes from walking on your knees instead of standing on your feet. The kind of tired that comes from constantly keeping the peace just because you're afraid to be honest with yourself. Is this woman truly worthy of my presence? Men like us, men who live with a Stoic spirit, we don't expect perfection. We're not out here looking for a goddess, but the bare minimum that a man deserves in a relationship is respect and a sense of inner peace. Unfortunately, some women don't bring love into your life. They bring chaos. Not because they're evil, but because they're not ready to grow up. They manipulate with silence. They compete with your masculinity. They crave attention from strangers. And they refuse to take responsibility ever. And if you don't recognize it early enough, you'll slowly lose yourself. Little by little. Until one day you look in the mirror and you no longer recognize the man staring back at you. In this video, I'm going to share 8 subtle but powerful signs that a woman is not worthy of your presence. This isn't about judging her. It's about protecting you. Stick around until the end, because your inner peace starts the moment you learn how to say no at the right time. 1. She thrives on chaos and drama. I want you to picture this. You've just wrapped up a long day. You walk through the door, hoping for a peaceful evening, a simple meal, a light conversation, maybe just some quiet to catch your breath. But instead, you step into heaviness. Not something you can see, but you feel it right in your chest. She's upset. Again. You ask, "Hey, what's wrong?" And just like that, the storm begins. Not because you forgot an anniversary, not because you did anything specific, but because things were too quiet. And to her, peace doesn't feel safe. It feels empty, threatening, boring. Have you ever felt that? Like you had to walk on eggshells? Watch every word, every move, just to avoid triggering something you don't even understand. Like you weren't allowed to be tired, to be still, because your peace somehow made her restless. I've worked with hundreds of men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s men who were completely worn out from trying to maintain peace in a relationship where peace depended entirely on her unstable moods. And the hardest part, you love her. You want to do right by her. You don't want to leave, but at some point, you start to lose sight of who you are. A woman who lives off drama never lets things just be calm. If there's no problem, she'll invent one. If there's no one to blame, she'll make you feel like it's your fault. Not because she's evil, but because in her world, drama is oxygen. Stillness makes her suffocate. She might be sweet, charming, even seductive at times. But one offhand comment from you, one glance she misreads, and suddenly, you're in the middle of a full-blown emotional war you never signed up for. A Stoic man knows this truth. Peace is a power. It's not something handed to you. It's something you build and protect. And in love, you should never have to fight just to keep the peace. Because if your peace depends on constantly extinguishing someone else's emotional fire, that's not love. It's survival mode. I had a student once, a successful businessman in his 40s. But every night he came home, and felt like he was stepping into a war zone. He learned how to talk less, smile at the right moments, avoid certain topics. But along the way, he lost the one thing he couldn't afford to lose, his inner dignity. So we sat down, talked about Stoic philosophy, how we can't control someone else's emotions, only our response to them. And sometimes, the most powerful response is to walk away. You weren't born to be the emotional firefighter in someone else's chaos. You were born to lead with calm, with clarity, with strength. So if you find yourself in a never-ending drama loop, ask yourself, is this still love or just a role I'm playing to keep things from falling apart? And if you're brave enough to face the truth, you'll understand what Stoic men have known for thousands of years. Peace doesn't come from pleasing others. It comes from being honest with yourself. 2. She doesn't take responsibility. Let me paint a familiar picture for you. You're sitting there trying to have a calm, honest conversation about something that happened between the two of you. Maybe it was a careless comment. Maybe a boundary got crossed. Or maybe you just don't feel respected the way you used to. But instead of listening, she reacts. Not with understanding, but with defensiveness, with blame. It's because of you I acted that way. If you showed you cared more, I wouldn't have done that. My family made me like this. My ex broke my trust. That's why I act like this now. And you're sitting there wondering, am I having a mature conversation? Or am I being blamed for every failure in her life? Have you ever been in that situation? She might be attractive, smart, maybe even magnetic. Her emotions and painful backstory pull you in. But over time, you start to notice something. In every story she tells, she's always the victim. There's always someone else to blame. And her, she's just unlucky. This isn't about lacking compassion. It's about something deeper, a lack of accountability. As a Stoic man, you know maturity doesn't come with age. It begins the moment someone can look in the mirror and say, this part is on me. Whether it's success or failure, right or wrong. Even if you've been hurt in the past, how you choose to show up today is still your responsibility. I once worked with a man in his 30s who was stuck in a relationship where every day felt like he was carrying emotional baggage that wasn't his. Every time she got angry, he apologized. Every time she disrespected him, he tried to understand her trauma. And he thought that was love. But slowly, he lost himself. He started walking more carefully, speaking more cautiously. And worst of all, he began doubting his own gut. I had to tell him this, and now I'm telling you, you can't help someone grow if they refuse to look at themselves. You can't build something solid on a foundation of blame. Yes, she might have a painful past, but if she uses that past to excuse every toxic behavior in the present, that's not trauma anymore. That's a lifestyle. A woman who won't take responsibility will turn you into the reason for everything that goes wrong. And little by little, you'll start carrying weights that were never yours to carry, until one day, you won't even recognize yourself in the mirror. A real grown-up relationship looks like this. Two people who can both say I was wrong. I'll learn. I'll do better. And if that never comes from her side, then hear me when I say this. Staying isn't love. Staying is enabling immaturity. 3. She manipulates through silence and emotion. Let me paint the scene for you. You've had a long day. You walk through the door just hoping for some peace, a quiet dinner, a real conversation, or even just a little space to breathe and be yourself. But something's off. You can feel it the moment you walk in. She's sitting there silent. No eye contact. No, hey. No warmth. Just that heavy silence. You ask, "Everything okay?" She says, "I'm fine." But you know she's not. That look in her eyes, the crossed arms, the cold energy. It's not fine. And now it starts. You begin replaying everything you said, everything you did. You ask yourself, did I forget something? Did I do something wrong? You try to fix it. You try to make her smile again. You walk on eggshells until you forget where your boundaries even are. Sound familiar? This is what I call emotional manipulation through silence. One of the most subtle and damaging forms of control, and most men don't see it until it's pulled them too far in. She doesn't need to scream. She doesn't need a big argument. Instead, she uses her silence like a weapon. When you do something she doesn't like, she doesn't bring it up directly. She pulls back, goes quiet, sighs deeply, acts wounded, and waits for you to magically figure it out. Why does this work so well? Because women like that know men are wired to fix things. We hate seeing someone we care about upset, and an emotionally immature woman will use that instinct as a form of power. At first you just worry, then you start apologizing, then you shrink. You cancel plans with friends because she's silent. You stop saying no just to avoid that cold energy. You change who you are, not because you want to, but because you're scared of losing her approval. And the scariest part, you think you're keeping the peace, but really, you're losing yourself. A Stoic man isn't afraid of silence, but he knows the difference between silence that allows space and silence that's used to control. I once spoke with a man in his 40s. He'd spent 3 years in a relationship just like this. After a while, he didn't know what he liked anymore, what he disliked, if he was even allowed to speak honestly. Every time he brought something up, she'd respond with those sad eyes. Then days of cold silence. Eventually, he gave up and apologized just to keep the peace. I asked him, "Are you keeping the peace? Or are you sacrificing yourself to maintain a relationship that isn't healthy?" He didn't answer, but that silence was a wake-up call. A mature woman doesn't make you guess. She tells you what she feels. She doesn't use emotions to control, but to connect. She doesn't make you doubt yourself. She encourages you to become clearer. So if you're in a relationship where your every decision is based on fear, fear of that look, fear of that silence, fear of being shut out, then ask yourself, is this love? Or is this a power game, and you're the one being played? A Stoic man doesn't let someone else's emotions define his value. He doesn't stay silent to please, he stays silent to stay centered. And when needed, he speaks with clarity. I don't play guessing games. If you need to talk, I'm here. But I won't trade my emotional freedom just to keep you around. Because at the end of the day, staying true to yourself, that's where real masculine strength begins. 4. Addicted to validation, especially from social media. I want you to picture this. It's date night. You're sitting across from her at a cozy restaurant. Candlelight, fresh plates of food just served. But before you can even reach for your fork, she grabs her phone. Not to answer an urgent message, but to take a picture. Left angle, right angle. Check the lighting. Fix the hair. Add a filter. Type a caption. And then post it to her story with something like dinner vibes. You force a small smile, but throughout the entire meal, her eyes aren't really on you. They keep drifting back to the screen, waiting to see who liked it, who commented, who dropped an emoji. Ever been there? You're sitting right in front of her. You love her. You're present. And yet somehow, you're still competing with a crowd of strangers, people who've never even held her hand, never looked her in the eyes. Yet they seem to have more influence on her mood than you do. And here's the part that stings. You're not the center of the moment. You're the background for her performance. See, the addiction to validation, especially from social media, is one of the most silent yet powerful addictions out there. It doesn't make her drunk, but it keeps her hungry. Hungry for attention, hungry for compliments, hungry for constant proof of her value from faces she doesn't even know. She might say, "It's just a photo, relax," or "You're overthinking it." But deep down, you know she doesn't need you to compliment her every day. But if that story doesn't get enough views, her mood sinks. I once worked with a man, 35, successful entrepreneur. Solid guy. He fell for a beautiful, smart woman. But after a year, he told me something I'll never forget. I felt like a prop in her online life. Every moment had to be curated. Every trip, every dinner, it wasn't about connection. It was about content. And that's when I reminded him of something. A woman of true value doesn't need an audience to feel valuable. She knows who she is, and she doesn't need the world to confirm it every 10 minutes. But a woman who lives on validation will never see you as enough. Not because you're lacking, but because no one is enough when they're stuck in an endless race for attention. Sure, she may be attractive, magnetic even, but if you always feel like you're fighting for your place next to a sea of faceless admirers online, that's not a relationship. That's a performance. And you're not the director. You're not even the audience. You're the stage furniture. The Stoic man doesn't compete with illusions. He knows that attention isn't love. And a woman whose heart belongs to social media rarely has room left for a real partner. So ask yourself, is she building a life or just broadcasting an image? Does she want a partner or just someone who takes good photos? And most importantly, are you okay being a side character in the story of someone who's always chasing applause from invisible strangers? Remember this: real love doesn't need likes. It shows up through presence, through respect, and through making each other a priority, not just a post. 5. She has no long-term vision. I want you to picture this. You're building a house not out of bricks and wood, but out of disciplined strategy and long-term commitment. Every day, you lay another brick saving money, working out, learning, putting in effort toward a future you actually believe in. Then, one day, you invite a woman into that house. But instead of helping you build, she cranks up the music, tears up the blueprint, and says, "Let's just live for today. Tomorrow can figure itself out." Ever been there? You've got a vision, but she lives off vibes. Money hits the account today. It's gone by tonight. Not because there's a need, but because I deserve to enjoy life. Sure, she might be fun, spontaneous, full of energy. But the moment you bring up saving, investing, or planning for the future, she laughs it off like you're the boring one. Come on, life's too short to worry all the time. But here's the truth: enjoyment without direction is just escapism, dressed up as freedom. A woman without long-term vision will slowly pull you into a draining cycle, from impulsive shopping sprees to reckless decisions. Quitting a job just because it's boring, borrowing money with no intention of paying it back, changing life plans 5 times in a week because, well, that's how she feels. And guess what? You, the responsible one, become the financial lifeboat. You're paying bills you didn't create. You're planning for a future that she won't even acknowledge. While you're focused on building something solid, she's living moment to moment, based on today's mood. I once coached a man in his 40s, successful, driven. He'd been in a relationship for 3 years with a woman who had no direction, and he said this to me: "It feels like I'm trying to steer a ship while she's busy tearing the sails, just to let the wind take us anywhere." You can't go far with someone who's only driven by emotion. A real relationship, one that lasts, requires 2 people rowing in the same direction, building together, taking ownership together. Now look, a Stoic woman doesn't need to be perfect with money, but she's aware. She knows that love can't survive on promises, and living for today without any thought for tomorrow. That's how you burn out fast. So be honest with yourself. Does she share your vision? Or are you just the one paying the price for her whims? Because here's the bottom line. A woman who doesn't know what she wants will eventually make you lose everything you've worked so hard to build. And you deserve better than that. 6. She sees your masculinity as a threat. Let me paint you a picture. You're a man with a clear sense of direction. You don't try to control anyone, but you've got a spine. You know what's right, you know what needs to be done, and you move with calm conviction. No shouting, no pushing, just a man leading. But instead of trust, you're met with suspicion. A sarcastic look, a backhanded comment. Even when you're doing something in both your best interests, she reacts like you're trying to take over. Ever been there? You suggest a solid plan, she shuts it down. You set a healthy boundary, she calls you controlling. You step up to lead, she pulls back like you're trying to dominate her. The problem isn't that you're wrong. The problem is, she can't handle the presence of a man who stands firm. Your masculinity makes her uncomfortable, not because you're oppressive, but because she's used to being in control. She's used to relationships with no structure, where emotions run the show and logic is a stranger. Some women, due to past pain, betrayal, or growing up in unstable environments, have learned to see any form of masculine leadership as a threat. Not because you're dangerous, but because they've never seen a man lead with kindness and strength combined. And if you're not careful, you'll start to shrink. You'll say less, avoid conflict, give up leadership just to keep the peace. You'll think you're doing the right thing, but you're slowly erasing yourself. As someone who's lived and breathed Stoic philosophy for over 3 decades, let me tell you something. Masculinity is not a threat. Masculinity is structure in chaos. It's clarity in emotional fog. It's steadiness when the world is spinning. And the right woman, she won't compete with that. She'll walk alongside it. She doesn't need you to shrink so she can feel strong. She wants you to stand tall so she can relax into herself with trust and safety. If you have to dim your light just to make her feel comfortable, that's not a relationship. That's a slow, quiet battle where you're the one disappearing. The Stoic man doesn't need to argue to prove his worth. He walks in his truth and chooses a partner, not an opponent. Because a real relationship isn't tug of war. It's 2 people pulling in the same direction, with trust, respect, and peace in every step. 7. She doesn't know what real respect looks like. I want you to think back to a small moment. A moment that stung more than you expected. You're hanging out with friends. The mood's good. You're talking about a project you've been grinding on, maybe how you've been picking up extra hours to stay ahead financially, or how you've been hitting those early morning workouts. Before anyone gets a chance to respond, she laughs and says something like, "Oh, please, he's just talking big." he's actually lazy. Or, look at him bragging again, he overslept last week. Or, if I didn't remind him, he'd forget everything. Everyone chuckles. You laugh too. But inside, something tightens in your chest. You ever experienced that? Where the woman you care about uses jokes to undercut you in front of others. Once maybe it slides. Twice you think maybe she didn't mean it. But when it keeps happening, that's not teasing anymore. That's a pattern of disrespect. And here's the thing, disrespect doesn't always show up loud. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, behind just kidding, behind I'm just being honest. It shows up when your effort is taken for granted. But your smallest mistake gets blown up into a headline. It's in the way you cover bills, carry weight, try to communicate. And in return, you get sarcasm, eye rolls, or comparisons to someone else. From a psychological standpoint, these repeated interactions chip away at a man's self-respect like slow-dripping water-carved stone. You start talking less, trying less, and slowly you begin to shrink right inside the very relationship that was supposed to help you grow. Stoic philosophy reminds us, your inner worth can't be taken unless you hand it over. Marcus Aurelius once asked, if others behave poorly, why should I follow their example? So in this context, if she chooses to belittle through jokes, you don't have to play along, and you definitely don't have to tolerate it forever. A mature woman, one who respects you, can tease, yes, but never at the cost of your dignity. She knows the line between humor and humiliation. She knows how to say, thank you when you show up, and I'm sorry when she steps out of line. That's what real respect looks like. If you feel like your value's being chipped away, here are 3 simple steps. Not tactics, but mental boundaries. 1. Call it out without being defensive. When you said that in front of everyone, I felt dismissed. Keep it calm, clear, no drama. 2. Set your standard. I'm good with jokes, but I'm not okay being disrespected. This isn't an ultimatum. It's territory marking. 3. Watch for repeat behavior. Apologies are nice, but real respect shows up through consistent change. If she adjusts, there's hope. If she mocks your boundary, be honest with yourself. Are you with a partner or a drain? You work hard. You're trying to grow. You're building something meaningful. Your presence is not disposable. Don't offer it to someone who treats it like a free sample. Because a woman who doesn't value you will never be worthy of the space you give her in your heart. And sometimes walking away isn't loss. It's preserving your dignity so you can give it to someone who knows how to honor it. 8. She doesn't listen. She just waits to react. I want you to picture this. You've had a long, exhausting day. There's something on your chest. You don't need advice. You're not looking for a fix. You just want to be heard. You start opening up. But before you even finish your sentence, she cuts in, well, then you should have done it differently, or worse. She flips the spotlight. I've been through that too, and here's what I did. And just like that, you go quiet. Your story is unfinished, your feelings unheard. And the next time, maybe you just won't say anything at all. Ever been there? See, real listening, the kind where someone actually sits with your words, is rare these days. Too many people listen just to respond, not to understand. They're just waiting for you to stop talking so they can jump in with their opinion, their counterpoint, or their own story. But love doesn't grow through debate. It grows in stillness. In those quiet moments when someone looks at you and simply says, "Go on. I'm listening. I want to understand." A mature woman, one with emotional depth, knows that listening doesn't make her weak. It actually shows strength, because it takes inner security to receive someone's truth without immediately reacting to it. She doesn't see every suggestion as a threat. She doesn't turn every disagreement into a war. The Stoic man understands this well. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so we can listen more than we speak. That truth applies in love too. You deserve a space where you can finish your sentence, where you can speak your heart without being judged, where you don't have to edit yourself just to keep the peace. Because if every conversation has you walking on eggshells, if you're constantly filtering your words to avoid triggering a reaction, then you're not really being you. You're performing. And love built on performance eventually feels like a prison. You don't need someone who's always right. You need someone who actually listens. Someone who doesn't interrupt. Someone who asks, "How did that make you feel?" Someone who's not trying to win the conversation, just trying to stay connected. Because in the end, what keeps a relationship strong isn't who talks better. It's who listens longer. So let me ask you, when's the last time you felt truly heard? If you're constantly bracing yourself during every conversation, maybe it's time to listen to yourself and choose a space where your voice actually matters. Thanks for staying with me all the way to the end of this video. We've just walked through 8 clear signs not to judge anyone, but to help you wake up. Wake up to the relationships that quietly wear you down. Wake up to the fake emotions dressed up as love. And most importantly, wake up to the truth. A woman can be beautiful, charming, smart. But if she doesn't respect you, doesn't know how to truly listen, and doesn't have the capacity to walk beside you, then she's not someone to build a future with. Because mature men don't chase perfection. They seek peace. They value honesty. They want partnership. If there's one thing Stoicism has taught me after decades of working with thousands of men, it's this: you can't control other people, but you can control what you allow into your life. So choose wisely. Choose clarity over the kind of relationship that makes you question yourself every single day. If something in this video resonated with you, tap that like button, share it with another man who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We're just getting started. I'd also love to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Have you ever been in a situation like one of the ones I shared today? Did you break free, or are you still stuck in it? I read every comment with intention, because here we're building a community of men who live awake, grounded, and strong from the inside out. I'll see you in the next video. And remember this: never trade your peace just to hold on to the wrong relationship.